Back with us on the SportsMax Zone. First thing to tell you is that the EFL Cup quarterfinals, the games played today, Brentford, they upset the Premier League side Newcastle 1-0, and then Arsenal at home beaten 4-1 by Manchester City. Well, on Monday, December 14, which was last Monday, well, last week Monday, last Monday's Monday that went yesterday, yeah, there you go. During our review of the disastrous performance by the West Indies on tour of New Zealand, I said that we have tried everything to get the West Indies playing consistently well in tests. I was responding specifically to a comment made by Wayne Lewis, who listed a number of things, including the players and how the coaches go about their jobs. And he said that these needed to be looked at in order for the team to deliver consistent performances. This is part of the exchange.
But Wayne, I'm not being facetious or glib when I say perhaps the only thing that hasn't been tried where the West Indies test team is concerned is an Obia man. Everything has been tried, every approach, every review.
We are the defending World Cup champions, George. Just for some.
But hold on, I'm going to come to that because I'm saying I'm going to come to that because I'm saying test cricket is what I'm talking about. As I told you privately, and I can say it publicly, cricket is something that I've loved like every Caribbean boy. I played a lot of it recreationally. I can't play it in an organized level because I didn't love it that much, but I really loved it, and I know our heroes and what they did. And we're going to talk about the Thai test very soon. But West Indies have almost made me fall out of love with test cricket. I still follow the team and believe in them when it comes to limited overs cricket, especially T20, because they've shown their ability there. And it was a long time ago. I think I was a guest on the SportsMax Zone way back in the day when I think I was sitting with Simon and Lance, and I said that the West Indies are like a 100-meter sprinter. In a 100-meter sprint, and I hate to seek to oversimplify 100-meter sprinting, something which I know a little bit about. The West Indies do well just getting up and running right to the finish at the 100 meters. But when it's a tactical race, an 800 meters,
problems.
A 1500
meter guys, you tell you
meters,
it's a tactical race.
Problems.
When the brain has to be engaged, it becomes a problem and it becomes beyond us.
Yes.
And that's the problem I have.
Yeah, that was the exchange on Monday, December 14. Well, the former West Indies fast bowler Tony Gray disagrees with my statement. He thinks a lot more can be done to improve the Windies' fortunes in the test arena. He joins us today to put on the table what he thinks is the way forward. Tony Gray, good afternoon. Welcome to the SportsMax Zone, sir.
Yes, good afternoon to you, George. Good afternoon to all your listeners and viewers.
Excellent. All right. Well, I've said my piece. You've said you don't see it that way. So how do you see it?
Well, I see it as we have deleted a lot of things that used to work and combined to give us the best, not just the best cricket team ever in world cricket, but the best sporting team and the most dominant sporting team for about 18 or 19 years of dominance. My thing is that we have not done the analytical research. We have not found out why we're the best team, and we've embraced a lot of misconceptions about West Indies cricket. The fact that we went to England is what people talk about, but I've often said that we had to be good before going to England and playing county cricket or league cricket. So let's do the analytical research and find out the process that our players went through from the playground to the international arena, because what I found out is that we went through the logical sequential path, the ideal and perfect preparation, and the template of success is there that we have not looked at.
But all right. So from that, I get that you're saying that perhaps it is the amount of cricket that is being played in the region is a problem. It's not what it used to be. Hence, you're not getting the kind of competition, making cricket competitions into acid tests that could then produce the guys who would attract the eyes of the teams in England. Hence, they get recruited to play there. But all right, that was true. That broke down. Under the leadership of Dave Cameron, though, when he was head of Cricket West Indies, he did many things that many people didn't like, but he also did some significant things that were better than what existed before. And among the things that he did, the Professional Cricket League that developed under his watch, and the fact that at its height under his watch, you had 170 men in the Caribbean, and I'm talking about the women, 170 men being paid to play cricket, vastly different from what had existed before. Now, so within that system, if you may call it that, under the PCL banner, they were playing the cricket and earning from the cricket. And I'm saying that that was done. Many people saw that as a gap. If you look at what former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson said in his review of West Indies cricket, and reviews that have come subsequent to that, and reviews that came before that, they all pointed to this glaring gap of not enough competitive cricket being played to develop the kind of player that could do himself justice in West Indies colours at the international level. And I'm saying that that was addressed. Hence, why I threw up my hands in frustration, Tony, pointing to that being done, the amount of money being spent. When you look at the revenue numbers for the West Indies year by year, when you look at the audited financial statements, the West Indies is not making less money than most of the big playing nations in the world, and they're spending that money on the cricket. So it's not that money is not being spent. So that's why, again, I'm saying everything has been done, but you say no.
No, I think that if you have a lot of professional players in the Caribbean and they're not at a high standard, then it doesn't matter when you play international cricket against the best teams in the world. And we saw that in the most emphatic way against England and then subsequently against New Zealand. I think that we have to raise the standard of West Indies cricket.
But how do you do that? That's a critical error, Tony. How do you do that?
I mean, George, when you have the best team in the world, have we done the analytical research on the individuals? We have done the systemic research on the systems then, but we have not done the individual research. How did Viv Richards grow up? How did Sir Vivian Richards grow up? How did Malcolm Marshall grow up?
But Tony, I'd suggest to you that for Sir Viv and the late Malcolm and so many others you could name, cricket was their way out. We have suffered from the fact in this part of the world that cricket is not the way out. People of my generation, born in the 1980s, we didn't see cricket as the way for us to get respectability, to earn an income, to matriculate to riches, to be something in society. The generation before me certainly saw it that way, and the generation before that. So there you have a natural disadvantage where you're not getting the youth buy-in into the cricket that will provide you more talented boys and now girls to play the game, because we don't see cricket as the end-all and be-all as previous generations did.
Yeah, and that's our fault, because when I grew up, I looked at idols of the game, the Michael Hollins, the Colin Crofts, the Joel Garners. What we have not done, we have not used the power of influence that our iconic figures have had because of their great performances. For example, Courtney Walsh and Curtly Ambrose was not sent to schools all over the Caribbean to lend assistance to the motivational part, and you know, to get fast bowlers again, for example. So we have not really magnified the powerful influence that our iconic figures have had in international.
But here's where I'd agree with you. Here's where I'd agree with you. I don't know, Tony, that sending our icons into the classroom would be of much help, because maybe our icons were good at playing the game and worthless at talking about the game, coaching the game, and mentoring people about the game. And I'm not picking on Sir Curtly or Courtney Walsh, who I think are exceptions to that which I just said. But I just think that we need to get out of our minds that because you can play something well, you can coach it, because there's enough evidence to prove that that is not so. Where I thought you were going with the point was this. If it is that you ask Courtney Walsh, Sir Curtly Ambrose, yourself, to say, okay, mentor these young boys, these young girls in fast bowling. What kind of pitch are you going to mentor them on? What kind of pitches do we have in the Caribbean? That I would accept is a massive failing of administrations over time in West Indies cricket, that we have feather beds and layers and 22 yards of sponge to bowl and play on rather than real pitches. How do you coach a fast bowler to in the rudiments of the skill if there are not good pitches to help them to hone their skills on? That is where I'd agree with you.
I was getting to the point that, you know, if you have Curtly Ambrose and Courtney Walsh sent all over the Caribbean, the motivational part of things. Now, they would have to improve where coaching is concerned and coaching education is concerned. I know that Courtney Walsh did a level 3 with me a couple of years ago, and so Curtly has done his level 3. And that's what we need to further educate the iconic figures. But when you talk about pitch conditions, and that's a very good point that you brought up, George, because that is part of the problem that we have had. We have had the perfect systems in the Caribbean where we had different types of pitches, not only to build the skill level of our fast bowlers, our batsmen, and our fieldmen, but to help them with making adjustment from pitch to pitch, the intelligence level. That has been deleted. Now, if you look at Barbados this year, they've brought back fast pitches. They've played 4 fast bowlers, and that's one of the main reasons why they won the 40 title this year.
Quick question for you, Tony. Which pitch in the Caribbean, and you would know, which pitch in the Caribbean is closest in characteristics to the first test pitch we saw at Adelaide that India and Australia just played on?
Well, at the moment, it's going to be Barbados, because Barbados had a firm pitch. There was grass and that sort of thing. But obviously, New Zealanders did a wonderful job by psychologically damaging us with that green top wicket and playing us in, against a New Zealand A team on a feather bed, a slow pitch. So the transitional period would have been very difficult for our batsmen. And obviously, the ball moved around a great deal, and we didn't show the technical competence that was necessary.
So would you say then, in conclusion, Tony, that in challenging my argument that everything has been done, you would say that though we have had money to spend on cricket, we have not spent that money wisely, and we cannot prove that we have studied at the granular level how to improve players, and that we haven't gotten enough work out of our legends of the game who know how to play the game? Are those the things that you would say to prove your argument?
Yeah, in addition to that, I don't think that we understand the development process. I don't think that we understand the age group development process. I don't think that we understand what happens at the under 15 level, at the under 19 level, and subsequently at the under 23 level, which we have had a serious problem with. So transitional periods have not been dealt with properly, and we need to re-educate people, including the administrators, who are the ones that are making the decisions.
Excellent. Tony Gray, we thank you for your contribution. You have now given us food for thought, so Wayne and Lance and myself, we'll do the dishes. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Tony Gray there talking about the cricket. We take a break. When we come back, we pick up the discussion. We'll hear from Wayne Lewis and Lancelot St. Aubin Whittaker. Back with us on the SportsMax Zone. We don't have enough time on this show to go into granular details about what is wrong and how to fix them. We have a short time, so we have to condense the analysis because there's so much more I'd like to go in depth into, but of course time doesn't allow. So I go to the gentlemen now, Wayne and Lance, to hear their perspective. And I want to start with the issue of the pitch, gentlemen, because I'm submitting, based on the results of matches played in the Caribbean and the report from the players who play on these pitches, that there is no pitch close to Adelaide in Australia that we saw India and Australia battle on in that first test. Tony Gray says, well, maybe Kensington Oval in Barbados is of a shares similar characteristics. I'd say maybe on the first day, the first morning, but certainly not for the 3 days that we saw Adelaide, where it was very dangerous for the batsmen throughout. Wayne, you have your nose close to the snout. Well, you have your snout close to the trough, beg your pardon. Is there any pitch in the Caribbean on this day in sports at this present time that you would say gives us the Adelaide experience and that would help fast bowling and help batsmen to deal with difficult conditions from the bowlers?
Well, I'm going to say Sabina Park. I don't think I'm being biased about it. And it goes back to even Brian Lara days when he was captain. He had always said then that, listen, if we are playing a 2-test series, one needs to be played at Sabina Park because it was the bounciest pitch. Carry was good pace and so on. Barbados' pitch, I thought, has lost a lot of its luster over the years. It was considered then, when I was playing, that it was the fastest and most bouncy pitch in the Caribbean, but that faded away some years now. So I haven't played for a while, but listen to the guys when they talk, they still think that Sabina Park is still the fastest pitch.
Wayne, Brian Lara retired from cricket in 2007. That's 13 years ago. Yeah. And a lot has changed with the pitch conditions. And Crafton, the head curator from the CWI, he's out of St. Lucia, has done a lot of work in the past decade. And I suspect that what Brian Lara had said then doesn't hold now.
No, yeah.
George asked me yesterday if I was deaf. Of course, Lance, I'm not going to ask you that. I respect you too much as my
so I didn't respect you. So I didn't respect you when I asked you that.
I'm speaking to Lance, right? I just said, talking to some of the players now, they still think that Sabina Park is still the paciest and bounciest pitch in the Caribbean.
Okay, but Anthony just mentioned that a lot of work has been done at Kensington Oval
Sabina Park as well.
In the past year.
A lot of grasses and Sabina Park pitch now.
But beyond that, gentlemen, Lance, how crucial is the lack of quality in the pitches to what we're seeing from our batsmen especially, because
very, very crucial. Very, very crucial. Obviously, if you're playing on a kind of surface day in, day out, year after year after year, and it doesn't afford you the kind of condition to put you under the kind of pressure that you're going to face when you face top-class bowling at different parts in the world, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. All of our experts conclude that the pitch conditions have been a serious problem with West Indies cricket.
I'm agreeing with you, Lance, because you see we saw what happened in New Zealand, for example. Yes. Even the time when they went before this trip, where some medium pace bowlers roughed up our batsmen and so on.
Calling the ground down.
I'm telling you, we looked out of sort. We were timid. We weren't getting behind the ball and so on. We're playing beside of the ball. That tells you that we're not comfortable. We're not accustomed to the ball bouncing, chest height and so on, because our pitches have been very slow and flat. So there's no argument with that.
And you know what is very disheartening about that? When you think of the kind of batsmen that Roy Fredericks would have been, Ivy Richards would have been, Richard Benjamin Richardson, who actually loved fast bowling, loved short pitch bowling. They flourished when they were faced with those kinds of... So West Indies batting has built itself over decades as a factory for batsmen who weren't afraid of that kind of bowling. So to see our batsmen now flinching and looking uncomfortable against it, it's a little hard for us to digest.
I agree. And Tony Gray said something else I'd like to comment on. We talked about, our guys playing in England and they had to be good to be there. Remember, Viv Richards got here very early. I mean, Gordon Greenwich and so on, our fast bowlers. There was a stage where only Jeffrey Dujon wasn't playing county cricket when we were #1 in the world. You talked about earlier, George, that they were playing more cricket then. I don't necessarily agree to that. When Tony Gray and I played for Jamaica, played regional cricket, we only played 5 games. Now these guys are playing 10 games. Right, but the quality is not the same.
Let me ask you a question.
I just want to make one more point before you ask me a question, George. You need to understand something as well. If West Indies is doing well, and winning test matches and being up there again and excitement, you'll find a lot more youngsters start playing cricket because they'll be motivated by that. But every time they hear something about the West Indies team, they have been beaten, they're not doing well. It's all negative. So therefore, these guys are not motivated to push on.
Well, let me throw with a point and counter that, because I'm saying that I think that there are youngsters attracted to the game, but they're attracted to the T20 game. They want to be... Look, remember, gentlemen, track and field got an almighty shot in the arm. When Asafo Powell, I was at university at the time, I saw him. We lived across the floor from each other on Farquharson Hall. When he was setting records and winning Golden League gold bars on the circuit before it became Diamond League, and having a Mercedes-Benz delivered to him at school, the argument was, hold on, is a man getting a Mercedes-Benz because of track and field? That changed the game. Russell changed the game. Chris Gale has changed the game. Marlon Samuels is now a very wealthy man by virtue of his exploits, especially in limited overs cricket, T20 cricket. So I'm saying, Lance, that those are the guys that the youngsters see and want to be like. I don't know anybody want to be like George, anybody in white flannels.
But George, remember what happened? It was last year when we beat England 2-1 in the West Indies. Was that last year? Time is flying. Listen, yes, we're doing well in T20 and so on, but deep down, the Caribbean people, they really want us to see us doing well.
Older Caribbean people.
In Test cricket.
Older Caribbean people.
And even worldwide, they're telling you that it's important for
older Caribbean.
I want to say something quickly though, because while George was talking to Tony Gray, I wanted to challenge something that George mentioned, because he said he's a kid of the 80s, someone from the 80s, and during that period, cricket didn't draw people to it. Now, George, you'd have to explain that to me, because in the 1980s, Gordon Greenwich, Desmond Haynes were opening batsmen. Malcolm Marshall, Holding was still playing.
Somebody was full. Everybody was full.
What I said, Lance, to address the point you made, I'm saying, us born in the 80s, and I can use my professional WhatsApp group as a sample, which has professionals across any discipline you can think of. We didn't aspire to be cricketers.
But why not? That's what I'm saying.
Because we saw other glamorous sports and other things.
Like what?
Like football, sir. Because remember, hold on. The first World Cup in colour to be broadcast on television was the 1970 World Cup. That was a game changer for football. We went from, when I was a little boy, watching Manchester United versus Newcastle in the 1999 FA Cup final as an odd match on TV to seeing La Liga every week.
People were motivated by that, George.
Yes, we were. No, we were.
They were motivated by their national team.
I'm telling you, you were not born in the 80s. You can't tell me that. I'm telling you.
In the 80s,
yes, you were. I'm telling you that we grew up watching Spanish football. Yes. Yes, sir.
You're allowed.
I grew up watching Spanish football, Argentine football, Brazilian football, English football, Champions League every day.
Where?
On television,
Where
sir.
used to carry it?
Fox Sports World, yeah? Rai TV from Italy.
George, I hear you.
Come on,
SportsMax. I hear you.
Crap talk.
I hear you, George. But
nonsense.
George,
no, sir.
I hear you, George. But if in the 1980s, the 80s boys like you did not see West Indies cricket as something attractive and that would inspire them, I don't know what would, George.
Sir, when did West Indies lose its crown officially?
1992, I think.
No, 95. That's about 95. There you go. Okay. By 1995, I was 13 years old. I'm saying to you that my generation growing up and aspiring, we were not looking at cricket as the thing that we wanted to be. But I don't understand that because when I played in 1988, Savannah Park used to be fun. That was 1988.
George,
but it's part of the 80s, George.
George, how old were you in 1990?
1990, I was 8.
Brian Lara's international career started in 1990. Yes. He's the biggest cricketing star the West Indies has seen.
I can't understand what it is that you both are misinterpreting because I think we're agreeing. I think we're agreeing.
No, we're not agreeing.
I think because what I'm saying is that people who were born in those of us who were spawned, dropped from the kangaroo pouch in the 1980s, gentlemen.
So by the
we
1990s,
did not grow up wanting to be cricketers. That's a fact.
Why didn't you?
Because we saw other glamorous sports, the NBA. Mr. Producer, hold on, Mr. Producer, please. We went to school every day, and I can tell you this. When I went to Jonathan Grant High, hold on a minute, I'm relating
a story. Long, George.
Please be patient. When I went to Jonathan Grant High,
support Arsenal?
When I went to Jonathan Grant High, we would gather every morning, lads. You know what we talk about? Professional wrestling. We talk about Major League Baseball. We talk about football, and we would hardly talk about Sammy Sosa and Mark Maguire were going haywire in the home run contest. Come on, man.
George.
Yeah?
George, that's a lot of nonsense. I wish I had time to...
You saying nonsense doesn't make it nonsense. And if you're going to go into
because I don't get the time to explain, George.
I can do that. Come on.
I
can do that. No, you can't.
I can do that.
I can do that.
Another day.
I can do that.